Hiya, welcome back to the channel and another weekly horoscope. I am so excited for this week. Personally, I feel like we're gonna get a lot of clarity on all of the changes and the transition we've been experiencing. Six. I've been seeing that number a lot lately. Has anyone else been seeing sixes a lot? I meant to say that full moons end 6 month cycles that began with the new moon 6 months prior. I do a full moon workshop every single month in my inner circle membership community, and I'll be doing one for this full moon eclipse in Pisces, going deeper into the energies of it and how you can apply it to your chart to learn and understand how it's showing up for you. I believe that workshop is on Friday. But if you're in my membership, go to the upcoming live events and you'll see it for your time zone and you'll be able to RSVP so you don't miss it and you'll get a notification via email before the workshop begins. So I'll be doing that in my membership, exclusive to the membership. And every full moon workshop I do in there, I talk about how full moons end 6 month cycles. We begin a 6 month cycle, we set intentions and plant seeds with the new moon that we have in that same zodiac sign, and then the cycle completes when it is the full moon about 6 months later. So we had last new moon in Pisces was February 27th into February of this year. So, what was going on in the area of life that you have Pisces ruling, and perhaps with any placements you have in Pisces? What themes were coming up at the end of February that you were setting intentions around of wanting to manifest something, of wanting to create something? For me, it was to rein in my health and to rein in my work. I've been talking about this a lot in my videos, especially the one I did on the eclipse that I posted this last week. I talked about how this is showing up for me based on my chart personally. It's in my sixth house. So it's been a lot of health and work themes. And I was setting some serious new intentions around that at the end of February this year to just kind of get habits in place and clean up my diet, get new habits in place and things and be consistent with those that really helped and benefited my health and my work. So I anticipate that's what this full moon eclipse will be for me, is a kind of ending manifestation, creation of that intention that I set back then, and just kind of solidifying things as it relates to that area you have Pisces in your chart. Now, we also can't isolate just where you have Pisces because Virgo will be a part of it too, since the nodes are in the Virgo Pisces axis now. And I believe anything that transits one house also brings in the opposite house as well, teaches you kind of how to balance those two energies. So that will be a part of this as well. And we have the full moon eclipse in Pisces on Sunday will be pretty close to opposite Mercury. Mercury will be in Virgo. Mercury's moving into Virgo this week. We also have Saturn going back into Pisces. So again, wrapping up these cycles of what you've been learning to be disciplined with and committed to as it relates to where you have Pisces in your chart. We also have Uranus retrograde beginning on Friday, and we're going to have a T-square between most of the cardinal signs, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, because we're also going to have Mars squaring Jupiter this week. There's a lot of pivotal things coming up this week, and I do believe that we will get. I feel like I keep saying this in all my videos, but I feel like the clarity that we're receiving around the transition that we're in and how to move forward in our lives, like through this transition, is we're being breadcrumbed with answers. Because I just think there's so much collectively shifting in our world and around us that we're not going to have all the answers right now on how to move forward, on what we need to be doing. Like I've been talking about in all my videos as well. Like I just moved out of my place in Colorado where I had been living for on and off for 11 years. And now I'm in Montana considering maybe relocating here. I mean, I technically live here right now. So it's just this whole thing, right? We're in this transition. We don't have all the answers. We don't have all the like next steps, but they are slowly and surely coming to us as we just embrace where we're at right now and allow it to change as well. That's why I created the thumbnail the way that I did for this video, is embrace the unknown, because I think we really just have to embrace this in between right now. And that's where the answers are going to come from. They're going to come when we accept where we are and when we just trust and have faith that the answers and what we need to move into, what we need to do next is going to come, is going to show up naturally when it in divine timing, when it's meant to. So that is a little spiel of the current energy. And I think, again, as we move into this week, I do think we're going to get more of that. We're going to get more of the next step and the answers, and get more of the energy of like, oh, okay, this is where I'm going. And it's just so important to focus on that end goal. Like maybe you don't know exactly what it's going to look like in the physical, but what do you want for your end goal? What do you want to feel? Because Pisces is all about feeling and kind of the sign of manifesting from the ending. Okay, so that's an overview. Let's get into the horoscope. Hi to all of you that are watching live. I'll read comments at the end. Shadow says, Happy Sunday. Yay! The breadcrumbing makes so much more sense now. Yeah, that's what I feel like I've said that over and over and over again, but maybe just in my head. That's totally what's happening right now. It's just, the universe is breadcrumbing us because that's what we need. That's what's going to be most supportive. It's like that energy of if we knew all the answers and we knew how everything was going to go, why would we want to watch the movie of our life? Like if you knew how a movie was going to go, why would you watch it, right? So life is the same, and we're on an adventure, we're on an exploration of finding what is right for us and moving more and more and more towards that. The more you can live in the present moment, the better all of this is going to go. The easier the transition's going to be. And yeah. Okay, for real, getting into the horoscopes now. We're going to start with Aries. Okay, Aries Rising. We start the week off with the moon at the end of Sagittarius. Just before it moves into Capricorn, it will challenge Saturn that is now back in Pisces in your 12th house. This could bring about some perspective of life shift, maybe through a need to really be on your spiritual practices. Again, that's what I feel like is going to be a major theme of this week is like, we can't neglect our spiritual development. We can't neglect what's going to help us move through this time, whether it's having a meditation practice or whether it's having a daily run practice or whatever it is for you. I feel like there's going to be this need to just be really on it. But the moon in Sagittarius early, midday on Monday is also going to harmonize with Mercury and Leo. So there might be something that you're feeling called to share, Aries, as it relates to the creative thing that's been emerging for you that you're realizing you need to take action on. There might be some emotional surgence of creativity towards that on Monday also. Then as we get into Tuesday, the moon moves into your 10th house. I feel like you're going to be really emotionally focused on your career. There might be some things that come up that are frustrating to deal with as it relates to maybe another person, maybe somebody you work with, maybe somebody in your home in some way, but there might just be some emotional frustrations between your career, your relationships, and what's going on in your home as well, and maybe something that you're working on there or wanting to change or expand in. There could be some friction and tension as it relates to that on Tuesday. We now have Mercury and Virgo as well on Tuesday. I believe that shift happens Monday. But on Tuesday, it will challenge Uranus in your third house. So again, there could be some conversation that you have that's just a little challenging, and there may be some conflict between your work or where you're needing to go or talk to, or something that kind of feels chaotic and frustrating with a conversation. Tuesday and into Wednesday. Then as we get into later on Wednesday, the moon in your 10th house is going to challenge Chiron in your first. This might prompt for some emotional conflict or challenges in your career that maybe bring up a wound around yourself or your identity, your appearance in some way. As we get into Thursday, the moon's going to move over Pluto. There could be some emotional transformation that happens within your community, your friend groups, maybe social media, as it applies, and that is going to harmonize with Uranus in your third. So there could also be maybe some conversation you have with somebody that prompts some shift within your emotional self, or just prompts for an emotional release, like through some conversation you have that just kind of clears something for you. Also on Thursday, we have the exact transit that is a square between Mars and Jupiter in your 7th, 4th house. There could be some frustrating thing that happens related to your home, maybe within a relationship or somebody in your life, maybe being a little bit aggressive out of nowhere or something like that. But I do feel like on Friday, as the moon harmonizes with Mars, there could be, again, some kind of helpful conversation you have with somebody, or somebody helpful that comes into your life to kind of smooth things over. Also on Friday, we have Uranus retrograde beginning. in your third house. So you could start to, as we get into the weekend, reevaluate your mindset, your communication, what's been changing there, maybe also what's been changing about your daily habits or where you're going, who you're talking to on a daily basis as well. Then as we get into the weekend, we are building up to the eclipse. The moon's in Pisces now on Saturday. It is going to oppose Mercury, so there could be maybe a revisitation of the conversation you had that was challenging earlier in the week. Maybe you're revisiting it like internally, like focusing on, okay, what did that trigger in me? What did that bring up, kind of related to like my subconscious or some belief system in me that I didn't realize I was operating from, and that kind of triggered it to be looked at. And I feel like that's going to be a big theme of the full moon eclipse that we have on Sunday is kind of like what's going on in your inner world, what maybe needs to be looked at in your inner world, your subconscious. What are some spiritual practices you can adopt that are maybe going to help that, or also maybe what needs to shift as it relates to your routine or your health and how you're focused on that, or your work-life balance. Going to be big themes of this full moon eclipse for you, Aries. So that is the week ahead. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Taurus Rising, we start the week off on Monday with the moon harmonizing with Mercury in your fourth house. There could be a helpful conversation you have with somebody in your home that maybe also challenges emotionally, like something going on within your long-term visions or your long-term goals, and maybe has you reevaluate something about that as Saturn is now back in your 11th house. Also, it's not going to happen on Monday, I don't think, but early on Tuesday, Mercury is going to move into Virgo, into your fifth house. There could all of a sudden be this shift and this focus. It could be late on Monday or early on Tuesday, depending on where you are in the world. That maybe shifts your kind of perspective about how you're taking action on this creative pursuit or passion that maybe you've been either releasing or reworking, refining. And the last, really all year, there's been this change in either children, creativity, dating, that you're getting a lot more clarity around. There could be a sudden mental shift around that as well. As on Tuesday, Mercury is going to challenge Uranus in your second house. It could be related to your possessions, your values, your money. Maybe, what's a practical example of this? Because it's kind of hard to pin down this energy. It feels very kind of sudden and chaotic as it relates to like just bringing about some big shift in your perspective and how you're viewing life and the world around you. It's almost like, okay, you maybe were having things like, I don't know, seeing things from a perspective of everything kind of being against you. And then all of a sudden you're like, no, actually, this is benefiting me. I'm so glad it didn't work out with that dating prospect or whatever, because actually our values don't align, or actually I learned that their finances are really fucked up, or there's like something happens and you see like, oh, that's why that happened, and now I view everything differently from that lens of like, it's all actually benefiting me. That's this energy Monday into Tuesday. Then as we get into Wednesday, the moon is going to challenge, later on Wednesday, the moon's going to challenge Chiron in your 12th house. So I feel like Taurus, for you, there's been a lot of this subconscious stuff happening, this subconscious reevaluation and really purging out old things that you are realizing were deeply ingrained in your subconscious, and you're purging them out. And so it feels like there's more of that on Wednesday as the moon challenges Chiron. And maybe that perspective of life shift that kind of just clicked into place supports that as well. As we get into Thursday, moon's going to move over Pluto in your 10th house. There could be a sudden realization about your career and money and what you want to change there. Maybe there's an emotional drive to transform something about that. We also have Mars challenging Jupiter in your 6th and 3rd houses. So there could be some friction between what you need to be doing on a daily basis for yourself, or to nurture yourself, or to take care of yourself or your family, and also what's pulling you for work, for your health. It's like you're kind of struggling to juggle taking care of yourself and taking care of others. So that's there in the mix too. It's kind of like, how do I balance all of this? But you might have some support come in through friendships, to help you with that, or maybe you need to like delegate or hire somebody, as it applies, as it resonates, to have more free time. I think that came up last week too. It's like, what are some options that you can think outside of the box to create for yourself to have more space in your life to deal with the things that are really a priority. Then as we get into Friday, the moon will be in late degrees Aquarius. I thought it was it's gonna be harmonizing with Mars. So there could be some emotional clarity around how to take action on balancing these things that were frustrating to you earlier in the week. It could come through your career, it could come through somebody like your reputation, or somebody recommends somebody to you or something like that. Again, through friend groups, through people in your life that are helpful and supportive is how this kind of problem could be solved. Also on Friday, Uranus goes retrograde in your second house. This is going to kind of create this internal reflection on your finances, on your money, what's changed there, what changes you want to make there, and getting more clarity on how to go about that. There could also be earlier in the week some mental block as it relates to like your creative projects and pursuits and money. But I do feel like that's going to clear up over the weekend. There could be a revisitation of that on Saturday as the moon moves into Pisces and challenges Uranus in your second house as it's opposite Mercury. Again, this could just be a mental thing where it's like you have to think outside the box. You have to see things differently, and maybe somebody in your life kind of mirrors that solution to you that you maybe would have not come up with on your own. As we get into Sunday, we have the full moon eclipse in Pisces in your 11th house. Again, this could bring some kind of closure or sudden kind of change or resolution around your long-term goals and visions, and also maybe your community, your friend groups, and what's going on there, and allowing yourself to receive support around this creative pursuit, or like I said, children, dating, something like that. There's this outside support that maybe will come in, or maybe you need to allow space for it to come in, as it relates to helping you balance all of these shifts and energies that you're experiencing change around. So that's the week ahead for you, Taurus. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Gemini Rising, we start the week off with the moon in your 7th house. Harmonizing with Mercury in your 3rd. This could just be some really good emotional feelings around, or conversations around your relationships or dating, maybe even. But it does feel like there is tension or challenges building between your dating and your money, or what's going on in your job or your work. But I do feel like there's also this harmony there. It might feel like you're just needing to have to kind of figure out what's a priority, how to balance it. What structures do you need to have in place in order to have that balance? Then on Monday, wait, this is Monday. Later on Monday, Saturn moves back into your 10th house. So there could be a really big reevaluation of, again, your career and what you're doing there. Again, there could be some challenges emotionally between your relationships. So what's going on with that, dating, romance, and also what's going on in your career. It's like you're pulled into the direction of relationships, but you also know you really do need to be committed and disciplined with what changes are occurring in your career and with money and finances. So it's maybe if this person can help you with that, it might be helpful to ask for support in that way. Or if you have people in your life that can help you support you with this, and just maybe soundboard and get ideas and get clarity from the people around you that you have at this time. So it doesn't feel like they're so completely in different worlds that you're having to like learn how to juggle. It's kind of, maybe that's the merger of these two worlds. Then also later on Monday, the moon's going to move into Capricorn, into your 8th house. Again, kind of putting the focus emotionally on your finances and your resources, and again, maybe asking for support from other people in ways that you need. Then on Tuesday, the moon in Capricorn is going to be opposite Jupiter and Cancer in your 2nd house. So again, there could feel like this tug of war between what you have to do with the money, with resources, with investments, with taxes, and how it's coming in. It's almost like you want to do something new, but almost like you've taken the leap off the cliff, but the net hasn't come yet. And so you're like, wait, how do I balance all this? How do I juggle all this? There's also going to be on Tuesday a T-square between the moon, Mars, and Jupiter. So I do feel like, again, you have support to lean on, and it's through your community. It's through maybe your social media even, or just through the people that are around you at this time. Maybe can help you establish ideas on what to do and how to move forward, and maybe soundboarding with those people can help you with clarity. Because it's like you can't do it all yourself. Then as we get into Wednesday, the moon is going to challenge Chiron in your 11th house. There could be some wounds that come up, or some triggers that come up around receiving support from other people for what you're doing. Maybe, you know, you had to really be independent from a young age and learn how to fend for yourself from a young age. So it's hard for you to learn how to lean on other people. But that's what this time is kind of showing you, is that you can and you need to lean on other people for the support in the ways that you need. And don't be afraid to ask for it, because these people want to help you and want to support you. I feel like this is very specific. So let me know how this resonates, Gemini, in the comments. Then as we get into Thursday, the moon moves over Pluto into your ninth house. There could be some big emotional shift or transformation as it relates to what's been coming up. Also, pretty early this week, you know, from Monday to Thursday-ish, really all week until we get into the weekend, Mercury is challenging Uranus in your first house. So there could be some conflict between what's going on in your home with communication and what's going on with you and the changes that you're experiencing. But on Thursday, these changes you're experiencing in your identity and your sense of self, like there's this new you emerging, and it is being really supported by the moon and by Pluto later in the week as well. Also on Thursday, we're going to have the moon opposite Venus. So there could be a pull between your values, your self-worth, your relationships, money, and what emotionally is coming up for you. As we get into Friday, we do have that exact conjunction between Mars and Jupiter and your fifth and second houses. So again, there could be something creatively you want to take action on, but it also feels like you're pulled maybe into this kind of deep dive with money, or with, okay, how is the money going to come in if I do this thing? And I feel like the message is really not to worry about it. Again, you have the support you need. It's going to come when it comes. When you just take the leap and you trust in where it's going to lead you, where it's going to take you, you are going to land. The net is going to come to catch you. Just take the leap, right? Like there is a lot of harmony, as much as there is like conflicts right now in the sky. Like there's harmony between Jupiter and the North Node. So like just expand in the ways that you need to, and this new career direction will present itself to you. Also, Uranus retrograde starts on Friday, so you could be a lot more internally focused starting Friday and into the weekend, of like, okay, what changes have I made to myself, to my identity, and what do I want to refine or change about that thus far, in order to be more in alignment. There could be some friction between that, or challenges between that on Saturday as the moon moves into Pisces in your 10th house. I do feel like the focus is going to shift to your career again, kind of on, okay, maybe I got clarity, or I got, you know, answers or inspiration from other people. How do I act on it? There could be an emotional focus of that as we get into the weekend. This is also where the full moon eclipse is going to be for you, Gemini, is in your career. So you could get a lot of answers this upcoming next 2 weeks about what to do in your career and making the changes you want to make there. Again, there could be a helpful conversation you have with somebody in your life, or multiple people, especially as it relates to your home or your family, that really supports this change that you're making and maybe provides you with more clarity at this time as well. Especially, like I said, the full moon eclipse around that time on Sunday, it is going to harmonize with Jupiter. So again, just focus on the end goal, focus on what is expanding you right now, and don't get too bogged down by the challenges or the unknown. Like what can you control, and how can you focus on that more and more and more? And that's the week I had for you, Gemini. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Cancer Rising. We start the week off with the moon in Sagittarius in your 6th house. It is harmonizing with Mercury in your 2nd, so there could be a helpful conversation you have about work, about money, but it also could maybe challenge what about your perspective of life is changing, or maybe some travel plans as it relates, because on Monday Saturn is moving back into your 9th house, and it's going to challenge the moon and Sagittarius before the moon moves into Capricorn. There's a lot happening on Monday. I feel like every week Monday is just like jam-packed with stuff. So I do feel like there could be some emotional challenge between your work and maybe between some travel trip you have going on, or just how you've been stepping into a new perspective of life in general, maybe a more spiritual approach to life, or maybe you've revisited your spirituality or religion, and Saturn going back into Pisces is really going to bring about that kind of focus even more so. As we get into Tuesday, the moon moves into your 7th house. It is going to challenge Neptune in your 10th. So there could be something that pulls you away from your career in some way, maybe just temporarily, like there's a conflict between somebody in your life or something going on in your housing situation, your home situation, or maybe with family. Because we do have Mars challenging Jupiter in your first, there's a lot of conflict and challenges between what's going on in your home, your family, and also you. And it might be pulling you, or it feels like it's pulling you away from being able to focus on you in the ways that you want to. But again, it's kind of just having this perspective shift is also going to help you at this time just kind of see things differently, of like actually you know, the energy is like, to make it practical, it's like if you wanted to switch careers but you have to deal with something in your family, like someone gets sick or something and you have to take care of them, it's like, oh, you're starting to see that maybe that career shift isn't what needed to be a focus right now. And actually I'm revisiting my childhood home and it's healing me in ways that I didn't know I needed. That kind of thing. That's like this energy. So don't like fight what's coming up as a focus, and just trust that it's all getting you to where you need to go. And that amplifies on Wednesday as the moon is going to be opposite Jupiter in your first house. Again, there's this big emotional pull to your relationships right now. But I do feel like it is creating this space for a lot of healing in places and in ways you didn't really know was needed. Also, early in the week, we're going to have Mercury challenging Uranus in your third and 12th houses. So there could be maybe some challenging conversations you have to have, or with siblings, with somebody you just interact with on the daily. Maybe there's a lot of criticism coming in from these people, or you're just facing a lot of criticism on a daily basis, and it's really kind of maybe having you question yourself or your mindset. But again, I do feel like it's helping you to detach in ways that maybe you would have like you didn't know how to do before. Maybe before you would have taken everything everyone says to you to heart and made it about you, but you're starting to realize it's not about you. So there could be some big shift around that as well on Wednesday. Then as we get into Thursday, the moon's going to challenge Chiron in your 7th and 10th houses. So again, there could be something really big that happens with whatever's being you're pulled to emotionally in your relationships. There could be some big challenge that happens that kind of brings up a trigger for you to look at again as it relates to your career, maybe shifts you've been making there, wanting to make. But I do feel like you're going to have helpful conversations. Like it's such weird energy. It's very polarizing energy. It's like, this is happening that's really challenging, but then you do have stuff that's really good that's coming in as well. As we get into later on Thursday, actually, the moon moves into your 8th house over Pluto. There could be some big emotional shifts, some big emotional transformation in your psyche that really supports all of these mindset shifts you've been experiencing. Again, like your sense of self is just kind of expanding, and you're learning to see yourself and everything that's happening to you as for you, and you're starting to see it differently. And there's this big shift as we get into the weekend around that, starting on Friday. Also on Friday, the moon is going to be opposite Venus in your 2nd. So there could be this emotional pull between your finances, your possessions, and maybe other people's finances or possessions, or other people's stuff. As we get into Saturday, the moon in Aquarius is going to harmonize with Mars in your 4th house. So there could be some breakthrough around whatever's been going on in your home and your family life. There could be some positive thing that comes in or happens around money as well, maybe related to that. And then really the theme of, and as we get later into the weekend, later on Saturday, the moon's going to move into your 9th house. This will be late on Saturday, early Sunday. It'll oppose Mercury in your 3rd. So there could be this kind of tug of war between a perspective you're learning to step into and maybe what's going on a daily basis. Again, this is such weird energy. It's such polarizing energy. It's almost like you're learning how to merge two parts of yourself, or merge two lives together so that things don't feel as separate anymore. And I believe that's going to be a big theme of the full moon eclipse as well, because it'll be in your 9th house. So there could be some big shift of your perspective, of seeing life differently, of this maybe big spiritual awakening, or like embodiment of spirituality or spiritual principles you've been stepping into. This could also be some realization around an international trip you want to take, or maybe moving abroad or something related to that as well. So that's the full moon eclipse for you and the week ahead, Cancer. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Leo rising. We start the week off on Monday with the moon in your 5th house. It's going to harmonize with Mercury and Leo, and it's also going to challenge Saturn, which has now moved back into Pisces in your 8th house. So this could propel you into some sort of harmony with your emotional health as it relates to dating or creativity. I feel like you're just feeling more so yourself these days, especially with this transit on Monday. But there is some sort of emotional challenge or conflict as well between what's going on creatively for you, or maybe what's going on with dating, and your resources. Maybe that's inheritance, debt, taxes, things like that. Maybe you're having to like take out a loan or borrow money or something, and it's doesn't feel the best to you, but it's kind of just seeing it from a different perspective. Is like it's just temporary, and things are going to work out in the ways that they need to. But there's so much going on with your money that is kind of affecting you. But again, it's just kind of seeing it differently. That's really the message, is it's just seeing it as something that you need right now, and that it's temporary. Also on Monday, Mercury moves into Virgo in your 2nd house. So there is this mental focus on money. There is this mental focus on what needs to better be structured with money. There could be a sudden change with money as well. Maybe like you took out a loan or something. This is just an example. It doesn't have to be exact, but let's just say you borrowed some money from somebody to get you by until you could find a new job or something. And then all of a sudden this week, the new job comes in and you're like, oh, right. Like, again, it was only temporary. And ultimately it's something that you needed and it's going to benefit you. So that's kind of this energy as we head into the middle of the week, especially, like I said, as Mercury moves into your 2nd house. And on Tuesday, Mercury's harmonizing with the moon in your 6th house. So there is this energy of positive change, even though it's challenging a lot of what you have known or what you have believed about your life thus prior. As we get into Wednesday, the moon is going to oppose Jupiter in your 12th house, as both of those square Mars in your 3rd house. This could bring about some just emotional challenges or conflict, maybe between like where you're having to go or who you're having to talk to on a daily basis, maybe with siblings or close family members as it applies, maybe even close friends. There could be some just, it kind of runs the risk of like emotional aggression. So just yeah, watch out for saying things you don't mean. Maybe just take a step back if things get heated. But it does feel like it's going to give you more answers about, again, like where you're viewing life from and what needs to shift about your perspective. So you don't see everything as such a like as so negative or as unsupported, because it is all helping you. And especially with Venus in your 1st house right now, like there is this energy of you really being in harmony, you really being aligned with your values and with your self-worth in ways that maybe you hadn't been before. And there's this renewal of that energy. So it's like focus on the good. Focus on what is going right, on what is benefiting you, and it will help you to see the other stuff as happening for your highest good also, because it is. Yeah, some positive shifts around money this week, positive shifts around money. Then on Thursday, late on Wednesday into Thursday, we're going to have the moon challenge Chiron. So again, there could be this emotional wound or trigger that comes up that really has you looking at your mindset, looking at your belief systems and choosing to view things differently than how you have been before. Because maybe you didn't have the greatest mindset around something, and it's kind of calling that into question, so you shift it. Yeah, it's like a lot of subconscious inner world transformation that's happening this week for you, as well as everything going on outside. That's what's going on inside. Then later on Thursday, the moon's going to move into your 7th house over Pluto. This could bring about an emotional shift or transformation as it relates to your relationships or how you've been viewing other people and relationships in your life. Maybe this is supported through someone in your community, someone in your friend group, or maybe it just helps you to have a shift in terms of your long-term goals and long-term visions. Maybe you're opening up to a new possibility you didn't allow yourself to see before, but it's been there the whole time, kind of thing. On Friday, the moon is going to oppose Venus in your 7th and 1st houses. So there could be some some kind of tug of war between your relationships emotionally and what's going on with you, maybe your appearance, or like I talked about, this renewal of your self-worth and values. As we get into the weekend, late on Friday and into Saturday, the moon's going to harmonize with Mars in your third. So there could be some emotional clarity around taking action on something within a relationship, or maybe just getting clarity on like who around you you want to have more time with, or you want to spend more time with, or you want to put more energy into that, cultivating that friendship or whatever, versus who you don't. As we get more into the weekend, later on Saturday, the moon moves into Pisces in your eighth house. That's where the full moon eclipse is going to be for you, Leo. So you could get a lot of clarity on your money, on your resources, on debt, taxes, investments, things like that. Um, Again, there's a lot of change happening with your finances too, and it's kind of like getting that clarity you need on what to do about it. How do you want to make it? What do you want to do with it once it comes in? Like really getting clear on your financial goals and how to kind of start to take action towards that if you haven't been already. This could be some new opportunity coming in as well around money that's going to positively benefit it, but it also kind of it's calling you to look at your mindset around this stuff as well, like not just taking the first thing that comes to you because you've maybe been in scarcity around money, but waiting for something that actually feels like fully aligned with what your long-term goals and everything you're working towards. So that's the week I had for you, Leo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Virgo Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your fourth house. You could be really focused on your home. The start of the week, there maybe could be some conversations you're needing to have there, maybe about just redecorating or getting clarity on if you're going to move or not. As Saturn moves back into your seventh house as well on Monday, this could, there could be some challenges between that and maybe like a disagreement with somebody in your life about that, or somebody that you live with, or in your home, your family in some way. But I do feel like there's going to be this reassessment of your relationships in general with Saturn moving back into your seventh house and still being retrograde. There's kind of a reassessment of commitment or getting more clarity around that, maybe as it relates to your home. And I do feel like with the moon on Monday too, harmonizing with Mercury in your 12th, it's gonna bring about this positive subconscious mindset belief system change as well, maybe related to all of that. As we get into Tuesday, the moon moves into your fifth house. Mercury is going to move into your first house. So it just kind of feels like this fog has been lifted on Tuesday around communication. You really didn't have, I don't know, things just felt foggy as it relates to how you've been expressing yourself. And there is this like, oh, okay, this is what it feels to be able to communicate better again. On Tuesday, as the moon moves into your first house and harmonizes with the moon in your fifth house, there could be a boost of creativity as well. Or maybe some creative renewal as it relates to dating or romance, or some passion you've been spending time creating, or again, it's almost like you lost some creative thing and you're coming back to it too. It feels again like this fog has been lifted. As we get into Wednesday, the moon is going to be opposite Jupiter in your 11th, and both will be challenging Mars in your second. This could be some emotional tension as it relates to whatever's going on creatively for you, and maybe your long-term goals and visions, your community, maybe even like you're being pulled in all these different directions, and it's like, okay, but I also have all this motivation to do this new thing, but I'm pulled in these directions because I have to make money and I have to like do what I said I was going to do within my community or whatever it is. So it kind of feels like there's this need to balance all of those things. Also, now that Mercury is in Virgo, it is challenging Uranus in your 10th house. So there could be some challenges between you expressing yourself and what's going on in your career. Maybe you're having to say no to some things because there's a lot of momentum, things coming in, and you're maybe having to really set boundaries around what you can do, what you can handle, and what you just can't. As we get into Thursday, the moon moves into your sixth house and over Pluto, again, kind of amplifying everything I just spoke to. The moon moving over Pluto in your sixth house is this emotional transformation around your work and maybe around your health as well. So there could be, and it's harmonizing with Uranus in your 10th. So it feels like maybe something like the shiny object syndrome in your career, and you're like, actually, no, like there's just one part of it that I can't align with, so I have to like let it go. And then something better comes in like the next day. This is that energy of on Thursday, like something better coming in or something just clicking, getting some emotional clarity around something because you now have the space for it. As we get into Friday, the moon's going to be opposite Venus, in your which is in your 12th house. So the moon is also going to be harmonizing with Mars in your second. So again, this could be that emotional kind of momentum towards this new project in your work or this new thing you've been maybe wanting to do or something that was on the back burner you're revisiting. And you're kind of seeing the potential of how it could make you money. And there's this kind of, or could benefit your finances in some way. And there's this kind of just clarity or revelation that comes in around that. As we get into the weekend, on Saturday, the moon is moving into your 7th house. So this eclipse is going to be in your 7th house and it's going to put the emotional focus on your relationships and maybe how you're needing to learn how to balance what's going on with you and the changes that are happening with you and the kind of mental renewal that's happening in your sense of self right now and what's going on in your relationships. There could be some just sudden shift in your identity or in your sense of self that maybe benefits your relationship or your relationship kind of pulls you into that change. And it kind of feels like for a little bit they're at odds with one another, but then as we get into the next week after this eclipse, that you do kind of start to pick up the pieces and see how, or fit the pieces together rather, and see how these things can work together and in tandem and benefit everyone involved. So yeah, that's the week I had for you, Virgo. Eclipse is going to be in your 7th house. And we'll give you a lot of clarity on relationships and yeah, I don't want to beat a dead horse with that. So that's the week ahead for you. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Libra Rising, we start the week off with the moon in your 3rd house. I feel like you're really exploring a lot early this week. On Monday, it's kind of like you're really busy. There's a lot going on. There's a lot you want to do. There's a lot you want to see. But also on Monday, it's a holiday. Things are closed. So there's like, you have this emotional need to explore and to adventure, at least in the US, a lot of things are closed. And then there's also this like conflict and challenges between now that Saturn is back in your 6th house, what needs to be taken care of in terms of your work or your health or your routine, what needs to be more solidified there that maybe you've fallen off from and have been trying to get a routine established with maybe all year, and now is like, this is the time to do it. But there's also harmony on Monday between the moon in your 3rd and Mercury in your 11th. So maybe you have some helpful conversations with people, whether that's friends, people in your community, social media. It does feel like the energy is supported emotionally in sharing your ideas and bouncing them off of people. And that's kind of where the energy needs to be focused on, as opposed to like the challenges. Does that make sense? Then as we get into Tuesday, the moon moves into your 4th house. I feel like you're going to be really focused on your home, maybe foundations there, what you want to do with your home. As also Mercury moves into your 12th house, there's this mental focus on, okay, what do I need to change about my belief systems as it relates to what's going on in my just perspective shift or with travel. Because now that Mercury's in Virgo, it will be challenging Uranus in your 9th house. So there's really this pull to kind of shift your view of life and shift your perspectives. And that relates a lot to your internal belief systems, what's in your subconscious around that. And again, it could be supported through your home in some way or your family, or maybe turning your attention to what's going on within your living situation, as opposed to what's going on that maybe feels chaotic or challenging. Kind of all about this week learning to focus on the positives and embrace the adventure that comes with the unknown instead of focusing on what's frustrating or what's challenging. As we get into Wednesday, the moon in your 4th house is going to be opposite Jupiter in your 10th. So there could be this emotional tension between what's going on within your home and your career. It's the both are also going to be challenging Mars in your 1st house. So there could be something really frustrating as it relates to your career, your home, and what's going on with you. But it feels like there's a supportive person or maybe multiple supportive people in your life that can help you work through this. so that it doesn't feel so challenging. On Thursday, the moon moves over Pluto in your fifth house. This could be some emotional transformation and renewal of creative energy, of inspiration. It's also harmonizing with Uranus and your ninth. So that could bring about this perspective of life shift that maybe you've been trying to make happen all week, but it just felt frustrating up until this point. And then it just kind of comes naturally on Thursday as this transit happens. Also on Thursday, we're going to have the exact square challenging aspect between Mars and Jupiter and your first and 10th. So this could feel, this is kind of a time to maybe just take a step back from social media or not read comments, because it feels like this could be really frustrating in terms of you and what's going on in your career. There's a lot of challenges and conflict between the two areas. So it's kind of like not the time to be really caught up in what people are saying about you or what's going on in the comment sections if you post on social media. Like again, put energy and focus into what does feel good right now, what does feel easy or what does feel positive, as opposed to like getting sucked into some doom scroll or doom gloom into your comment section, because it's not going to be fun to spend time there at this time. I'm a Libra Rising and I've been experiencing that already. Anyways, on Friday, the moon in your fifth house is going to be opposite Venus in your 11th. So it could feel like there's some tension between a creative project or dating and where you're pulled to as it relates to maybe social media or your community or a friend. But also the moon is going to harmonize with Mars in your first house. So this is a good day to kind of create and maybe channel any frustrations you are experiencing into creation or spending time with friends, spending time doing something fun on social media. Again, focus on, if you do, take it as it applies. If you do content creation, focus on the aspect of creating as opposed to what people are saying about it. Because that's going to help you move through this transit and have a better time with it. As we get into Saturday, the moon in Aquarius is going to we already went over that. It's going to harmonize with Mars in your first house. So that's really creative energy. It's also going to sextile Chiron in your seventh. So there could be some unexpected healing of a wound emotionally as it relates to dating or relationships on Saturday. Then like midday on Saturday, the moon moves into your sixth house into Pisces. So there's this focus emotionally on work, on your routine, on your health. And that's where the full moon eclipse on Sunday is going to be for you, Libra, is in your sixth house. So there could be some big breakthroughs or emotional shifts as it relates to your work, your routine, your health, your spirituality, maybe even, or your subconscious. There could be this big shift in your energy as well that supports where you're headed and the direction you're going and how you're expanding in your career. Again, it's like you really kind of this week made the most of these transits, and it provides you with this clarity about how to move forward and how to have more harmony with the changes that you're experiencing and feel more aligned with them. Also, now that Uranus is retrograde in your ninth house, there's this internal reflection on your beliefs, your perspectives, and just kind of making refinements there as you see fit. Again, it's all very, like, as we get towards the end of the week, it's all very subconscious. And what is changing there about your belief systems and just how you're viewing life in general. So that's the week ahead for you, Libra. Let me know how that resonates, and I will see you next week. Okay, Scorpio Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your second house. Now that Saturn is back in your fifth house as well on Monday, there could be some emotional challenge between your possessions, your values, your finances, and what's going on with creativity or with dating, or with children as it applies. There's some sort of emotional conflict between those two areas, but the harmony is between your possessions, your values, your money, and what's going on in your career. So that's really the focus. Maybe you've been just learning to have more joy in your career or for what you do for work. And there's a lot of harmony happening between your money, what you're doing for work, your physical health, healing anything there, and also just how you're expressing yourself in your career too. Maybe you're feeling more creatively expressive or brave or bold to say things you wouldn't normally say. That's supported this week, or Monday, early in the week as well. I feel like we have something else going on Monday. Yeah, later on Monday, Mercury moves, and into Tuesday, we'll just get into Tuesday now. Mercury moves into your 11th house. There could be a lot of more clarity around your long-term goals, visions, but it could come at a challenge to what's going on in your resources, maybe with investments or debt or taxes, or inheritance, or just like feeling vulnerable to share your ideas in general. There's kind of this challenging energy there, but the harmony is between you expressing yourself in a practical, grounded way. So that's really kind of the focus is don't focus on the challenges, focus on what you can control. And there's this harmony as the moon is in your third house, harmonizing with Mercury and the sun in your 11th. There's this harmony to share yourself and your ideas, maybe to your community, maybe on social media, maybe to just your friends. But there is this energy of emotionally being focused on what you can share and create. Or change about your foundations moving forward, maybe organization or refining where you're going, who you're talking to, what you're doing on a daily basis as well. On Wednesday can really run the risk of being a challenging day because we have the moon opposite Jupiter in your third and ninth houses, and they're both squaring Mars in your 12th. This can really bring about challenges, conflict between your communication, between your belief systems, and what's going on in your mental space. Like maybe you've been feeling this kind of like fogginess or like aggression that you don't know where it's coming from. And this is kind of going to bring it to the surface and bring awareness around, oh, like you had this belief that, I don't know, so there's something that's going to come up that gives you clarity around really the root of the issue instead of like how it's manifesting. Does that make sense? Um, and that's kind of the focus that could propel some big release too with a friend or with a community or with social media in general. Like you just start blocking people, or you shift something about how you're showing up on social media or where you're consuming content in general. As we get into Thursday, there could be emotional clarity, a transformation and shift around your home, your family, as the moon's going to move over Pluto and harmonize with Uranus in your eighth. There could be some unexpected, maybe finances or resources that come in through somebody as well, maybe related to family. An example would be if you were waiting on an inheritance or something like that, it kind of just clicks into place. Or maybe a loan from family or something to help you with a move. It could kind of all come together on this day as well. There's again some emotional transformation in your home, your family that supports what you're wanting to do with money in some way. As we get into Friday, the moon is opposite Venus in your 10th house. There could be some emotional pull or tension between your home and your career, maybe any changes you've been making in your career or just showing up differently there. There could be something emotionally that kind of pulls you away from that as it relates to your home or your family. But we are going to have the moon harmonizing with Mars in your 12th house too. So that whatever happens with that could give you a lot of clarity on that subconscious thing that I was talking about that you've been kind of uncovering. It's like you're peeling back the layers of an onion this week to see what's really there and what really needs to be transformed. We also have on Friday the exact square between Mars and Jupiter. So again, it could feel like you want to expand in some direction, you want to maybe make shifts to your belief system, or maybe you want to embark on an international traveling trip or move abroad. But there's something you have to deal with that's kind of it's kind of stalling that. Um, but again, there could be something that is emotionally supportive for you in making that change on Friday as well. As much as there is conflict and challenges, there's also so much harmony this week. So it's so important to focus on that versus the challenges. As we get into Saturday, the moon moves into your fifth house and into Pisces. There could be this emotional focus on your creativity, maybe getting clarity on your long-term goals and visions, as it relates to a creative project or children or dating. What new direction have you been moving into? And all fifth house themes since the beginning of the year. That's where this full moon eclipse is really going to highlight for you. On Sunday, it's going to be in your fifth house of children, dating, creativity, passions. What are you creating? What are you doing? That maybe has felt foggy before. You might get a lot of clarity on that, maybe through a friend or maybe through your community or through social media, as we have this eclipse on Sunday. And it maybe helps you just to understand the changes you're wanting to make there and how to move forward with them. So That's the week ahead for you, Scorpio. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Sagittarius, we start the week off with the moon in your first house, harmonizing with Mercury in your ninth. So there could be some travel you're embarking on, or maybe you just got back from, or um, that feels like it's going really smoothly, but there could also be emotional challenges between you and what's going on in your home or what's going on with your family. As Saturn has moved back into Pisces now into your fourth house. What commitments, what ways have you needed to be disciplined in your home or your family life? There could be some emotional pull or challenge involving that on Monday. But again, the focus is kind of on what is bringing you joy, what is fun for you. And yes, you can deal with that stuff, but it also doesn't have to be at odds with your joy. You can have both. As we get into Tuesday, Mercury moves into your 10th house. I feel like you're going to be feeling a lot more expressive in terms of your career, your public reputation. Maybe you're starting a podcast, or maybe you're just really writing more, feeling more inspired to write or talk more in your career, or refine how you're going about that in your career. That could kind of bring some conflict or challenges between your relationships, or maybe there's somebody in your life that hasn't really felt super supportive of what you're doing in your career, and so they kind of challenge or bring some conflict to you in some way as it relates to that. But I do feel like the focus, really the harmony, again, this week is really all about focusing on the positives. And there is harmony as much as there are challenges. And the harmony on Tuesday is what's going on with your money and how can you kind of focus on that in your career and what's changing there, or how you want to express yourself, or maybe sharing some idea or communicating some new thing that you're doing to bring in money on Tuesday. As we get into Wednesday, the moon is going to be opposite Jupiter in your 8th house, as both are squaring Mars in your 11th. So there could be some friction, challenges between your money, your resources, and what is going on within your community or within your friend group, or maybe things you've been wanting to take action towards as it relates to aligning with a long-term vision that's emerging. Could feel like there's challenges between all that. But again, the message is like, what are you feeling creatively inspired to do and to share and to tell people about? That's kind of where the focus is, where the potential for this is. There could also be something that you release in your career you finally maybe let go of emotionally. Maybe that was making you a lot of money, but you're like, I'm no longer aligned with it and I have to let it go, kind of thing as well, to make space for the new. Because there is a lot of new, or potential for new. As we get into Thursday, the moon moves over Pluto in your 3rd house. It's going to harmonize with Uranus in your 7th. So this could bring about some emotional transformation or clarity as it relates to what was going on in your relationships earlier in the week. You could get some big breakthrough around that, or maybe just how to communicate differently or tell yourself a different story, change your mindset around these things. Anything like that. As we get into Friday, Thursday and Friday, also, we're going to have the exact square between Mars and Jupiter in your 8th and 11th. So it feels like there's a lot of conflict between what's going on in your community or your long-term visions and goals and taking action towards that, and where you're needing to expand as it relates to investments, inheritance, self-care, maybe even your like emotional world or your inner psyche and vulnerability. It kind of feels like you're pulled in these directions, and it can be challenging to learn how to balance those. Also on Friday, the moon is opposite Venus. This could be some emotional tension on your relationships or your money, but again, it all kind of stems back to your belief systems and your communication, the story you're telling yourself about what's going on, and how you maybe need to shift that in order to experience it differently. On Friday, as I've said, this whole week is like conflict mixed with harmony. The harmony is between the moon and Mars in your 3rd and 11th houses. So there could be some helpful conversation you have with a friend unexpectedly that helps you to see things differently and to really change your perspective about this. As we get into the weekend on Saturday, the moon moves into your 4th house. You could be really focused on home. Maybe you've been manifesting a move and it kind of comes to fruition, or you get more clarity around what that is or what you want it to look like as we head into the weekend. That's where the eclipse is going to be for you, is in your 4th house. So on Sunday, there could be something you get clarity around mentally as it relates to what's going on in your home versus your career, because it maybe this creates a sense of tension there, but I do feel like after the eclipse, you might get more clarity around what needs to change, or yeah, what you're going to be doing moving forward as it relates to balancing both of those areas of your life. So that is the week I had for you, Sagittarius. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. All right, Capricorn Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 12th house, harmonizing with Mercury in your 8th. This could be a big mindset shift. Maybe at a subconscious level, something just finally clicks in you that you, maybe about money, that you really just start to see differently. And maybe it's something you've been working on for a while. As Saturn also moves back into your 3rd house, there is this big belief system shift around your faith, around your spirituality, and related to like what was going on underneath the surface tied into that. As we get into Tuesday, Mercury moves into your 9th house. There can be this focus on otherworldly ideas or maybe international travel, maybe writing also too. I mean, the 9th house is the house of publication, of writing, of speaking, sharing ideas, educating people. So there could be this focus on that as well. Maybe you've come out of some sort of psychological transformation as Mercury leaves your 8th house, and you're starting to get clarity on what that was and how it benefited you, and sharing it with people as we get into the week here. Especially on Tuesday, as the moon is going to harmonize with Mercury in your 9th and your 1st, there could be this feeling of an emotional renewal and you wanting to really share, write about that, in order to also help yourself process it. But there could be challenges between that and what's going on in your day-to-day health or work, maybe struggling to kind of feel like you have a routine, but you got to work with the energy that as it's presenting itself. As we get into Wednesday, the moon is going to be opposite Jupiter in your 7th and both are going to challenge Mars in your 10th. So there could be this emotional tension between you and a relationship, or maybe other people in your life, even maybe expanding in other people, meeting new people. And it feels like there's this emotional tension between you and that, and also what's going on in your career and what actions you're taking there. But the harmony is, again, between kind of you viewing life differently and you starting to see, again, that everything is happening for your highest good. Also, later on Wednesday, there could be emotional challenge between you and what's going on, maybe within your home or your family. A trigger or wound comes up for you to kind of deal with that feels uncomfortable in the moment, but does clear something emotionally that needed to be let go of. As we get into Thursday, the moon moves over Pluto in your 2nd house. This could be some breakthrough transformation around money. Maybe you get clarity around something related to money in your work and what you're doing to bring it in for yourself. Or maybe this is like a purge of your possessions or a shift in your values also, related to also work and your health and the routines you have in place to take care of those two things. As we get into Friday, Thursday and Friday, we're going to have Mars square Jupiter exact in your 7th and 10th house. There could be conflict or challenges between what you're called to do in work, career, and your relationships, again, like I've already kind of talked about. As we get into later on Friday, the moon is going to harmonize with Mars in your 10th. So there's this emotional harmony between how you're making money. I mean, this is a great time to maybe launch something in your career, or there's harmony between your money, what you're emotionally driven to create to bring in money, and also your career and taking action on whatever that is. So don't get caught up in the frustrations. Focus on what is positive and how you can make the most of this energy. We also have Jupiter harmonizing with the North Node in your 3rd house. It's a great time to share your ideas. To communicate yourself with the world and maybe share your creative passions or things like that. As we get into the weekend, Saturday, the moon moves into your 3rd house, putting the emotional focus on your kind of day-to-day stuff, also your communication. That's where the full moon eclipse is going to be for you as well. But on Saturday, there could be some challenges between that and what's going on in your work, also what's going on in your belief systems. It's kind of like, again, this big like subconscious purge of how you're viewing life. Like I said, then we have on Sunday the full moon eclipse in Pisces in your 3rd house. There could be this big revelation around where you're going, who you're talking to on a daily basis, and also your belief systems and what's been going on there. But it could challenge or put tension on already existing belief systems as well. But there could be someone in your life that supports you in making this change and kind of feels like kind of feels like a miracle that came into your life to help you with this. So that's kind of cool. Uh, that's the positive of this energy. And that's the week ahead for you, Capricorn. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Aquarius Rising. We start the week off with the moon in Sagittarius in your 11th house. There could be some helpful people coming into your life at this time, but it might emotionally challenge your money in some way, as Saturn is now back in your second house. There's something you have to be really disciplined with as it relates to your money. And maybe that comes at an emotional challenge of something you want to do within your community. But I do feel like, again, you have support through friends. It's almost kind of like a non-issue. It's like a temporary thing that maybe forces you to look at things differently, look at money differently, and how you're viewing it. As we get into Tuesday, the moon's going to move into Capricorn. It harmonizes with Mercury, that's now in your 8th house. So again, this kind of creates the energy for this emotional subconscious belief, as it relates to like your deep-seated psychological foundations. The moon is also going to, this is going to be kind of earlier on Tuesday. The moon is also going to challenge Neptune. So there could be something that's not clear about what's going on underneath the surface for you, but that's not going to last very long. Because then the moon is going to harmonize with the sun in your 8th house. So again, there's going to be that maybe moment of fogginess, but then you get clarity, maybe through a conversation you have with somebody that helps you out. Then as we go Tuesday into Wednesday, the moon's going to be opposite Jupiter in your 6th house, and both are going to be challenging Mars in your 9th. So again, this could propel you into some sort of really big perspective shift of just seeing things differently. Again, maybe through somebody in your life, helpful person or relationship or community that you've recently become a part of or something like that. There might be creative blocks too, but again, the focus is kind of what's going on underneath the surface. Maybe you need to journal about it, or maybe you need to meditate or do breath work to really look at what's going on at a cellular level. Like, it's like the body keeps a score energy. It's like, okay, but what is your body holding on to about this that maybe you haven't really dove deep enough into yet? As we get into Thursday, the moon moves into your 1st house over Pluto. This could create the energy of emotional renewal related to whatever you were really doing deep shadow work around. The moon and Pluto are also harmonizing with Uranus in your 5th house. So this could create that energy for this, a kind of creative renewal, inspiration, motivation to do something differently as it relates to your passions, your creativity, and what has been changing there for you. As we get into Friday, the moon's going to harmonize with Mars in your 9th house. This could create the energy for, again, this kind of emotional shift about how you're viewing life. And maybe it's because of people you've been hanging around that are really inspiring you to see things differently and not be stuck in the challenges or the conflict. As we get into the weekend, on Saturday, the moon moves into your 2nd house. The emotional focus is on your money. Maybe you're refining your investments, or just kind of moving things around, or just getting more clear on your budget, or where money's coming in, what you're doing with it. Maybe, again, creative pursuits that you're taking action on to bring in money in new ways. It does feel like there's harmony there with your money and what you're doing for work and with health. Even though it might be, you have to think outside the box. It might be something that's totally unconventional. It might be something that you didn't expect, especially with this eclipse in your area of money. There could be this kind of sudden insight about what direction to head as it relates to that. And it kind of puts into question your already existing belief systems. But again, it's like follow your intuition. That's the message of this. And it's all going to work out as long as you do that. So that's the week ahead for you, Aquarius. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Pisces Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 10th house, harmonizing with Mercury in your 6th. There could be a lot of emotional drive to like create something or talk about something you're doing with work or with your career, or there's a lot of kind of excitement about something you're doing, but it also could challenge an identity shift that's happening for you. It could challenge your sense of self as Saturn moves back into your 1st house. This is a reevaluation of you, of what's changed about you, maybe your appearance, maybe your identity. If you've been resisting changing like how you view yourself, this is going to bring that about, and it could bring up some conflicts as it relates to your career. But again, the energy is focus on what is positive, focus on what is fun for you to do in your work and your career, and don't get bogged down into an existential crisis. Later on Monday, the moon moves into your 11th house. It's going to challenge Neptune in your second. So there could be some fogginess as it relates to community or your long-term goals and visions around money as well. But there is harmony between your emotional drive as it relates to what's changing about your community or your presence on social media or your long-term visions and goals and people in your life. I do feel like there's supportive people coming in, especially around this eclipse, because you've created space for them to come in, and it's related to this identity shift that's taking place also. Tuesday, the Mercury moves into your seventh house. Again, I do feel like this is a good time to just get more clarity on, okay, what people do I feel supported around and having conversations with, and who do I not? It could come at conflict. You know, there's conflict between your relationships. Maybe as it relates to communication and how you're talking to other people or how they're talking to you, and what's going on in your home and your family. That's kind of also going to be some challenging energy for most of this week. But again, it's the harmony is happening also between, I don't even know how to articulate this because it's almost like you're battling the old and the new, and there is harmony between the new, and you just have to trust and have faith that these new people are going to come in if they haven't already, and focus more on them than the old people that were bogging you down, or maybe any chaos that's happening within your home. It's almost like you just need to kind of detach or remove yourself in ways that you can, to focus on where this harmony is happening. Also on Tuesday, the moon's going to, Tuesday into Wednesday, the moon is opposite Jupiter, as both are squaring Mars in your eighth house. So this could kind of create some emotional tension between what's going on with other people, maybe with your resources as well, and then with your creative pursuits. It's like you want to expand in your creative things, but there's something about your resources that also needs your attention. And you're kind of learning how to balance those two things and bring them into greater harmony. As we get into Wednesday, the moon is going to challenge Chiron in your second house. So this could bring up triggers or wounds around money as it relates to your belief systems. And again, maybe the belief systems of the people you've been hanging around. Like it's like that saying, you are a result of the 5 most people you spend time around, something like that. This is kind of that energy. It's like put yourself around people, even if it's just following social media accounts that have where you're going or have done what you want to do, as opposed to getting stuck in these old patterns of people that you're moving away from. On Thursday, the moon moves over Pluto in your 12th house. There could be a sudden shift, revelation, breakthrough as it relates to your subconscious and what's going on with your home and your family. There could be sudden clarity that comes that you didn't expect around that. And maybe, again, it's this kind of unconventional thing, but you realize it's what you actually want to do and what's going to benefit you. Then on Friday, we have the moon in Aquarius opposite Venus in your 6th. There could be some pull to really emotionally focus on your subconscious again and what's going on underneath the surface of things. There is an emotional transformation that's supported at the deep subconscious level on Friday. If you're willing to put time aside to focus on it, to journal, to do breath work, to get into some meditation and just like kind of go within and see what's there to shift at the subconscious level. As we get into the weekend, the moon moves into your first house. This is the energy of emotional renewal, but it could put some tension on maybe a conversation you need to have with somebody in your life, or maybe you're really needing to set boundaries with somebody and it's propelling you into a new identity or a sense of self, and you're starting to really view yourself differently and act differently, and maybe something helps you to realize that as well, or somebody mirrors that to you over the weekend too. This is where the eclipse is going to be for you. It's like stepping into a new identity that might feel intense, that might feel chaotic, but you know, that's really what this time is pushing you to do, is to change a lot about you and embrace it, because it is a part of where you need to, or who you need to be to get where you're going. So that's what we had for you, Pisces. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. That was such a long one. Kira says, I finally caught alive. Hey! Yay! Love you all. Okay, let me know how your horoscope resonated with you in the comments. I will add the timestamps in the next few minutes after I get off here and the video processes. And yeah, sign up for my weekly emails if you're not already, because I do email this video out and I give a written form of the energy of the week ahead. So if you prefer to read stuff or both, as well as watch stuff, sign up for my emails. All those links are in the description. And I will see you all next week. Love you. Bye. Happy eclipse.